My name is Lisa Brennan. I'm 32, and I've always been the responsible older sister, the one who kept everything running while our mom played favorites, and my sister Rebecca chased her dreams. When she got engaged, I was all in, maid of honor, planner, emotional support, you name it. But months later, after I'd spent thousands of dollars and gave everything I had to make her day perfect, my mom looked me straight in the eyes and said, "We all agreed you're not welcome at the wedding. Some storms don't hit all at once. Sometimes they build slowly behind closed doors and fake smiles until you're standing in the middle of them, wondering how you got left out of your own family." Before we dive in, where are you listening from right now? What's your story? Drop it in the comments. Rebecca and I were close growing up, not just close inseparable. Same school, same bunk bed, same favorite cereal. I helped her learn to ride a bike. She helped me sneak candy out of the kitchen. It was us against the world. Even back then, it was clear who Mom adored more. Rebecca was creative and bubbly, always drawing something or putting on little performances in the living room. I was more reserved, the one who remembered to bring the umbrellas, the one who set the table without being asked. Mom called me too serious all the time, said I needed to loosen up. But when things broke down emotionally, or literally, I was the one patching them up. And that dynamic didn't stop when we grew up. Our dad, Thomas, was around, but only in the background. He never stepped in when Mom crossed lines. His answer to conflict was silence. And eventually, that silence became its own kind of noise, one I had to work around. As adults, our roles never really changed. Rebecca pursued her art degree, and when the tuition bills piled up, I helped cover what our parents couldn't. She was chasing passion. I was building stability, working my way into a financial consultant role at a Boston firm, while quietly handling family expenses behind the scenes. That was my place in the family: solve the problems, clean up the mess, don't make it about you. When Rebecca met James at an art gallery and called me squealing that he'd proposed, I cried, happy tears. She asked me to be her maid of honor before she even said yes to the dress. I said yes in a heartbeat. The first few weeks were magical. We made Pinterest boards, swapped dress ideas, browsed venues on weekends. My apartment turned into a bridal command center, swatches everywhere, calendars full, to-do lists taped to my fridge. Then Mom got involved. At first it was little things. She'd suggest a vendor here or there, talk about her vision for the big day. I figured it was normal. Moms do that. But then one night, at a family dinner, she casually dropped a bomb. I booked the Clayton Hotel, she said. Before the appetizers even came out, it's done. Only summer date they had. Rebecca blinked. Mom? Lisa and I were still comparing venues. Well, you're lucky I acted fast, Mom said, smiling like she'd done us a favor. It's always been my dream for you to get married there. And that was the beginning of the shift. Suddenly, the planning wasn't ours anymore. It was hers. Vendors I researched got tossed. Our chosen colors, too dull. The florist I loved, too expensive. Every time I tried to weigh in, I got brushed aside, politely but firmly. I tried to speak up once. Rebecca shrugged and said, Mom and Dad are paying for a lot, and she's really into this. Let her have some fun. So I stepped back, but I still helped. I paid the deposit for the photographer Rebecca really wanted. I ordered personalized welcome baskets for out-of-town guests. I started secretly planning their honeymoon, a full week in Bali, first-class flights, private villa, the works. I told myself this was just wedding stress, that Mom was being Mom, and that once it was all over, Rebecca and I would laugh about it over wine in her new apartment. But then I noticed I was missing from more than just conversations. I was missing from the actual events. Rebecca and Mom went to tastings without me. Vendor meetings I hadn't heard about were showing up in Megan's Instagram stories, Megan being our cousin, who was suddenly glued to Rebecca's hip like they'd been best friends since birth. One photo really got to me. Megan was holding up bridesmaid dresses to Rebecca while Mom watched in the background. That should have been me. I was maid of honor, wasn't I? I tried brushing it off. Tyler, my boyfriend, said maybe Megan had more free time than I did, that I'd been slammed at work, that it probably wasn't intentional. But then something happened that made it impossible to ignore. At work, my coworker Natalie, who's friends with the owner of a bridal boutique, asked how dress shopping went. Sandra said your sister found her gown. She said, smiling. I froze. Dress shopping. I wasn't there. I hadn't even known it happened. Apparently, Mom, Rebecca, and Megan had gone together. They popped champagne, took pictures, found the one, and I found out from someone at the office. That night, I called Rebecca. My voice was calm, too calm. So, how was dress shopping? Oh, she said, hesitating. That wasn't supposed to be the real appointment. It just kind of happened. Megan was free. We needed a third opinion. I felt my stomach drop. I could have made myself free. You could have asked, Lisa, don't make this a thing. There's still plenty of other stuff you can be part of, but there wasn't. Because the next few weeks, I watched myself get pushed further and further out. The bridal shower, planned without me, the bachelorette party, Megan again. When I offered suggestions, they were brushed off. Still, I kept showing up, kept paying for things, kept hoping the day of the wedding would be the moment we remembered we were sisters again. That hope shattered the night I heard Mom talking about me in the next room. I'd gone to refill my water glass. And I heard her loud and clear say, Lisa's always been difficult. Rebecca's finally seeing it. Then Megan chimed in. It must be hard for Rebecca. She should be the center of attention. And Mom said, exactly. That's why we've had to minimize her involvement. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just stress. This was a plan. A week later, I showed up to my parents' house for what I thought was a heart-to-heart with Rebecca. But when I walked into the living room, I saw the setup. Mom standing, Dad silent, Rebecca twisting her hands in her lap, Megan sitting in my spot, and no one made room for me. And then, Mom looked me dead in the eye and said, we've all talked, and we all agreed you're not welcome at the wedding. I don't remember much about the drive home that night, just that the words kept echoing. We all agreed. Not Rebecca said, not we think, but we all agreed, like it was a meeting I was never invited to about a life I was still living. When I got home, Tyler was waiting by the door. The second he saw my face, he pulled me into a hug and didn't say anything. I didn't even cry. I just stood there, frozen, like if I stayed still long enough, I could wake up from it. Eventually, the words came, disjointed, half-spoken. They kicked me out of the wedding. I'm not even a guest. He pulled back. Wait. What they said. I make it about me, that I've tried to control things, that Rebecca doesn't want me there. And then I finally cried. Not because I wasn't invited anymore, but because after everything, the planning, the support, the thousands of dollars I'd spent without blinking, they really saw me as the problem, not the helper, not the sister, just excess. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table with a blanket wrapped around my shoulders, staring at the fridge covered in sticky notes and bridal timelines that meant nothing now. The pain wasn't loud. It was quiet, like a weight pressing down on my chest, heavy, familiar. Around 4 a.m., I opened my laptop and started making a list. Not out of pettiness, out of clarity. I needed to see it in black and white. Photographer deposit $2,500. Custom welcome baskets, $800. Surprise string quartet for the ceremony, $1,000, $200. Calligrapher for place cards, $400. Vintage hairpin I found to match our grandmother's earrings, $300. And then the big one, the honeymoon. First class flights to Bali, 4 hours, $200. Private ocean view villa, 3 hours, $800. Cooking class, sunset cruise, waterfall trek, $600. Total, $15, $800. I sat with that number for a long time. Then I opened my banking app and started reversing everything I still could. The flights refunded, minus a small penalty, the villa canceled, the experiences all emailed and withdrawn. I transferred the $600 back to my account and sat there, staring at the confirmation screen. My phone was buzzing on and off all night, mostly from Mom. Texts like, "You're being dramatic. You always are. This was supposed to be Rebecca's day. Why do you need to make it about you after everything we've done for you? No apologies, no second thoughts, just blame and spin." Dad called once, left a message. His voice was quiet, a little shaky. "Lisa, I didn't know it was going to go that far. I thought we were just going to talk. I'm sorry. Please call when you're ready." I wasn't ready. I turned my phone off and took a long walk through the public garden. It was early, barely 7, but people were already out walking dogs, sipping coffee. The normalcy of it all felt jarring. I couldn't stop thinking, how did I get here? How did I go from being the first person Rebecca called when she got engaged to being treated like some toxic outsider she needed to protect herself from? That afternoon, I met my friend Olivia for lunch. She took one look at me and said, "Okay, who do I need to fight?" I smiled for the first time in 2 days, but it didn't last. I told her everything, from the way the wedding planning slowly shut me out, to what I'd overheard Mom say, to the final gut punch in the living room. Olivia listened. No interruptions, no sugarcoating. When I finished, she reached across the table and grabbed my hand. "Lisa, there's something I need to tell you. I didn't want to stir the pot before, but now you deserve to know." I tensed. "Your mom's been saying things about you for months. At the engagement party, she told my mom you were jealous of Rebecca, that you were emotionally unstable. At the Williams dinner last month, she said the family was worried about your state of mind." I blinked. "What?" "She's been dropping little comments, planting seeds, quietly shaping this narrative that you're difficult, fragile. It's like she was laying the groundwork to justify cutting you out." I felt sick, not just because of what Mom had said, but because it worked. Rebecca believed it. Everyone did, because I didn't see it coming. It wasn't just about the wedding. It was about control, about rewriting the story so that she was the protector and I was the problem. Later that night, I got one text that shook everything loose. "Lisa, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Please talk to me." Rebecca. No explanation, no details, just raw. But it was enough to make me pause, to wonder maybe she didn't know everything. "Tyler said what I was thinking. You need to talk to her, not to fix it, but to understand." So I texted Rebecca, "Can we meet just the two of us?" She replied hours later, "Come to Mom and Dad's on Thursday at 7. We'll talk then." I don't know what I expected walking into that house. Some kind of clearing the air conversation, something private, honest, maybe even healing. Instead, it was an ambush. Mom was already standing when I walked in. Dad was slouched in his chair, silent as always. Rebecca sat on the edge of the couch, twisting her fingers like a nervous kid. Megan was there too, sitting where I used to sit during family talks. No one offered me a chair. I asked, "Rebecca, I thought we were going to talk." Mom cut in. "We are, all of us. There's something you need to understand." She talked like she was leading a board meeting. Calm, cold. "We've all agreed your involvement in the wedding has become problematic." That word, problematic, like I was a glitch in their perfect plan, a stain they needed to scrub out. "You've made it about yourself," Mom went on, "with your opinions, your money, your need to control things." I turned to Rebecca. "Is that what you think?" She looked up, eyes full of guilt. "It's just been really stressful. And every time you get involved, it feels tense. Feels tense." "Or Mom says it's tense," I asked. She didn't answer. Mom stepped between us. "What Rebecca thinks is that her wedding should be a happy time, and your presence would make that impossible." Then she smiled. Not kindly, not gently. "Lisa, you're not welcome at the wedding." And just like that, 30 years of being a sister gone. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I said, "Good to know," and walked out, behind me. No one followed. I didn't cry on the drive home. I thought I would after what just happened, but there was nothing left in me, just this weird stillness. I pulled over twice because I couldn't see the road clearly, not from tears, but from how blurry everything felt. Like my brain couldn't process that I'd just been cut out of my own sister's wedding by the people I'd given everything to. When I finally got home, Tyler was pacing. He looked up when I walked in, hope in his face. I shook my head. It wasn't a conversation. It was a verdict. He didn't ask questions right away. He just sat with me while I tried to untangle what had just happened. They'd already replaced me. I said quietly, "Megan's the maid of honor now." Rebecca didn't even say it herself. Mom said it, like it was already decided weeks ago. The next morning, I made myself a cup of tea I didn't drink and sat back down with my laptop. No more hoping. No more trying to earn back a seat at a table they'd already pushed me away from. I went back through every expense, every booking I could still reverse. The honeymoon canceled, refunded, the vendor deposits I'd paid, written off. I didn't want anything to do with this wedding anymore. Then I opened a second tab, my credit card account. I spotted a few charges from a specialty linen rental company. I hadn't made them, but I knew who had. Last month, Mom had casually asked me for my card info just in case there were some last-minute upgrades. I'd given it to her, naively, trusting she'd check with me first. She hadn't. I called the card company. "I need to report some unauthorized charges," I said. "They were made by a family member without consent. Technically, not a lie." By 9 a.m., I had cut every financial tie to that wedding. My phone was still off. I didn't want to hear it, the excuses, the spin. I needed space. Quiet. Around noon, I met Olivia again. She listened, furious on my behalf, and then said something that changed everything. "Lisa, there's more." I blinked. "What do you mean? Remember when I said your mom's been planting things in the social circle?" "She's been doing it to Rebecca, too." I stared at her. "How would you know? My cousin was at Rebecca's engagement party. She overheard your mom showing Rebecca messages supposedly from you where you were bailing on plans, complaining about money, calling the wedding a circus. My cousin didn't think it sounded like you, but But Rebecca believed it. She nodded. Because your mom had proof. Screenshots. Fake messages. That night. I turned my phone back on. I had 28 missed calls. Voicemails from Mom, ranging from icy rage to desperate guilt-tripping. One from Dad, quiet, apologetic, unsure, and one from Rebecca. I'm so sorry. Mom's been lying to me. James and I found out. Please call me. I need my sister back. I just stared at the message, the wording, the tone. It didn't feel performative. It felt real. But I didn't respond right away. I needed more than words. The next day, I got a call from James. I didn't expect that. Lisa, he said, voice tight. Thank you for picking up. It's been chaos over here. Rebecca's been crying nonstop. What happened? We found out what your mother's been doing. She faked messages. She changed contact names in Rebecca's phone. She rerouted some of your texts to her own number, responded pretending to be you. I went cold. How is that even possible? She had access to Rebecca's phone when she was helping her set up a new messaging app. She added her number under your name. So whenever you texted, sometimes it went to her. I sat down hard. James continued. We confronted her last night. She showed up at our apartment screaming, saying we were ungrateful, accusing you of turning Rebecca against her. Neighbors called security. I didn't speak for a long time. Finally, I said, why are you telling me this? Why not Rebecca? Because she's afraid you won't believe her, and because she knows she didn't fight for you when it counted. Later that evening, I got another message from Rebecca. Just one line. Can we talk? No one else, just us. I agreed reluctantly, but I needed to see her face, to see if she meant it. We met at a quiet cafe halfway between our places. I got there first and brought a folder with me. Inside screenshots of my actual texts, email receipts, bank statements, everything. When she walked in, she looked small, worn out. She sat down across from me and immediately said, I believed her. I know. I said, she showed me fake conversations. She told me you thought my wedding was ridiculous, that you didn't have time for me, that you wanted control. Why didn't you ask me? I tried. But every time, she was there. She'd twist things. And eventually, I stopped questioning it. That's on me. I didn't fight hard enough for the sister I've known my whole life. She pulled out her phone and showed me the messages, the fake ones. I knew right away they weren't mine, not the words, not the tone, not the grammar. Then she showed me the contact list. Her phone had 2 entries for me, one real, one redirected to Mom. I never saw your messages. Not really, she whispered. And when I did, they were altered. I handed her my folder. She flipped through it, and I watched the realization settle on her face like slow falling snow. I'm sorry, she said, eyes wet, for believing it, for not asking you directly, for not protecting you. I nodded. I know you were manipulated, but it still hurt. I want to make this right, she said, whatever it takes. I took a deep breath. Then we need to do something no one in this family has ever done. We need to tell the truth, all of it. We planned a meeting, neutral ground. Aunt Catherine's house, someone just distant enough to host without taking sides. We invited Dad, Grandma, Uncle Paul, and a few others who had heard Mom's version of the story. And we brought receipts. Rebecca and James laid out everything, the fake messages, the hijacked texts, the lies, the manipulation. My folder went around the room like evidence at a trial. Catherine quietly nodded. Your mother did this to me, too, 30 years ago, with your father. No one believed me then. Dad said nothing for a long time. Then he finally spoke, voice soft. I knew she could be difficult, but I didn't realize how far it had gone. I'm sorry. Lisa, I should have protected you a long time ago. When Mom arrived thinking it was a budget meeting, she walked into a room full of quiet, steady truth. Her reactions followed the usual pattern: denial, outrage, blame, tears, but no one budged. And for once, Dad didn't fold. Deborah, he said, enough. Look at what you've done. That was the night the story changed, not just for the wedding, but for the family. The night of the family meeting stayed with me. Not because there was a dramatic apology or some emotional group hug. There wasn't. My mom left in a fury, saying we'd all betrayed her. But the silence that followed the stillness in that room after the door slammed shut, it felt different, like something toxic had finally been named, out loud, and that alone had weight. For once, people saw her clearly. The next morning, I got a text from Rebecca. Lisa, I want you to be my maid of honor again, like I asked you in the first place, like it was always supposed to be. I didn't say yes right away, not because I didn't love her. I did. But I needed to make sure this time I wasn't stepping back into a role I'd be erased from again. So I called her. I'll do it, I said. But under one condition. This wedding this time we do it together. No more silence, no more tiptoeing, and if Mom tries anything, you don't fold. Rebecca didn't hesitate. I promise. To her credit, she kept that promise. The following weeks were quiet but charged. The wedding prep started back up this time with real conversations, real transparency. I rejoined the group chats, helped rework the final timelines, and offered support in ways that didn't drain me. But the biggest shift wasn't between Rebecca and me. It was with our dad. He started showing up differently. After years of avoiding conflict by default, he began participating. Not always perfectly, but when Mom called to clarify what happened at the family meeting, he didn't let her rewrite the story. We're not doing that anymore. He told her, it's time you stop pretending everything's fine when it's not. Later that week, he came by my apartment. Just him. No warning. He stood on the balcony with a coffee in his hand and said I should have protected you. I told myself I was choosing peace, but I was really just avoiding discomfort. And that let a lot of things happen that shouldn't have. I didn't say much. I just let him speak. I'd waited 30 years to hear something like that. I'm tired. Lisa, he added, tired of pretending we're a close family when all we've been is polite around a problem. That admission did more to heal something in me than any family dinner ever had. As for Mom, she didn't show up to any more meetings. She stayed mostly quiet after the intervention, save for one email titled simply, I don't recognize this version of events. I didn't respond. But then something happened. I didn't expect Rebecca told me Mom had agreed to start therapy. She's not doing it for the family, she said. She's doing it because Dad told her she needed help or there would be consequences. I was skeptical, still am, but it's a start. And honestly, I'm not looking for some perfect version of her. I'm just done letting her chaos set the tone for my life. The wedding finally arrived on a crisp, sunny Saturday in early October, the kind of day that feels borrowed from a movie. The Clayton Hotel looked beautiful. Rebecca looked radiant. I stood beside her in a dress I hadn't picked, holding a bouquet I didn't arrange, and for the first time in months, I felt at peace with that. It wasn't about the details anymore. It was about standing beside my sister, not because I had to, but because I chose to. Mom kept her distance that day. She played her part, the mother of the bride, smiling for pictures, saying all the right things, but her eyes avoided mine. When she did finally approach me, it was during the reception. The calligraphy on the place cards, she said, glancing at the display. That was your idea, wasn't it? I nodded. She opened her mouth like she was going to say more, but then just added, "You've always been good at noticing what people care about," and walked away. It wasn't an apology, but it was something, a crack in the armor. That night, after the toasts and the dancing and the cake cutting, Rebecca pulled me aside. We stood outside on the patio, watching guests spill into ride shares and hotel elevators. "I don't know how we come back from this completely," she said, "but I want to try. We already are." I told her, "Every time we tell each other the truth, we're building something stronger." She looked down at the ring on her finger. "Do you think people like Mom can ever really change?" "I don't know," I said honestly, "but I know we can. That's what matters." The next morning, I took a long walk by myself before checking out of the hotel. The fresh air helped, so did the quiet, and I realized something I hadn't been able to say out loud. Until then, I don't need my mother's approval to know my worth. For years, I thought if I just gave enough time, money, effort, eventually she'd see me, appreciate me, but she saw exactly what she wanted to see, and no amount of good intentions could change that. So I stopped trying. Instead, I started putting that energy into people who saw me already. Rebecca, Tyler, friends who showed up when it counted, a therapist I now see weekly, who reminds me that boundaries are not walls. They're doors that only open for the right people. 6 months after the wedding, Tyler proposed on a hike. Just the two of us. I said yes. Then I looked him dead in the eye and said, "We plan this our way. No big committees, no family pressure, just us." He grinned. "I was hoping you'd say that. We're getting married next spring, something small, outdoors, intentional. Rebecca will be standing beside me. Mom will get an invitation, but not a role, not a vote. That's the new boundary." 1 year after that night in the living room, the night I was told I wasn't welcome, I look back and don't feel anger anymore, just clarity. That was the night I stopped begging for inclusion and started choosing peace on my own terms. So here's what I've learned. Sometimes the people who raised you will be the first ones to question your value, but that doesn't mean they get to define it. Sometimes being left out is what finally sets you free.